Last week was Grammy week. Everybody I came across was like, yo, Jazzy, what you working on? What you been up to? I felt like niggas was actually like just like being nosy, guarded light type energy. Like you trying to guard my light type. I did not like it. So honestly, I started turning the question on them. Like, hey, what y'all been up to? I don't gotta tell people what we been up to. Like, they ask you what you been up to, just say nothing. Be like, nah, I ain't been up to nothing. Like, because at the end of the day, if you feel that, that's a real dark energy. These niggas do not give a damn about what you up to. They over there probably putting spells on you, everything that you done told them that you working on. So nah, out of
Yes, shout out to Jazzy. If you don't know who Jazzy is, you've heard her work. She co-wrote the song Old Town Road with Billy Ray Cyrus and Lil Nas X that spent like almost like 20 weeks in the top 100. She broke a lot of records with that song. She's written for Beyonce. She's a real heavy hitter in the music industry. Very talented songwriter, singer. Shout out to Jazzy if you see this video. But Jazzy is so on point with what she said, right? Because first of all, the title of this video is Why Everyone Doesn't Need to Know What You're Working On. The title of this video is Why Everyone Doesn't Need to Know What You're Working On. And a lot of the times, a lot of the videos that you're going to see on my channel, other people's channel, if you really look at the basic foundation of what's being said, it's really rooted in psychology, human psychology, right? It's really exposing the psychological tactics that people use in different environments to get what they want, to have a certain outcome. We're really looking at psychology and how people work through psychology to try to get information, to try to get a certain emotion out of you or out of them, or whatever the case may be, right? So it's not that these videos are to make you think that everybody's out to get you, or you should be paranoid, or don't answer questions from people. That's not what it is. These videos are just showing you the tactics and the games people play around you. And especially if you're a creative, definitely listen up to this video because we get it the most, right? And just because someone's asking you questions and they're in the same industry as you, they have proximity to you, that doesn't mean they have good intentions. That does not mean they have good intentions. People being curious about what you're doing is not the same as care. People being curious about what you're doing is not the same as care, right? They want access, they want proximity, and they want information because that's currency, right? Having access, having proximity and information is used as currency in some situations. And let me just say this, not every question is support. Some questions are surveillance. And mind you, I wanted to really explain who that was talking in that video, Jazzy, because she referenced that video in regards to Grammy week. So she's surrounded by probably other if they're in the same room, they probably are producers, artists, they're in the same industry and they know who she is and they know the records that she's broken. So for them to just come up to her trying to see what she got going, I know exactly what she's talking about. And the way they ask the questions, it's not like, oh, hey, what you got going? Because I have this opportunity for you. Let me get you in touch with so-and-so. Beyonce is working on Act 3, but she needs one more song. And I think, nothing like that. It's not that kind of vibe. It's more of like, you feel like you're kind of being interrogated because it's like the tone, the way they ask the questions, their body language when they ask the question, like the setting where they ask the question. Like you may be in a setting where let's not talk about work. Let's just have a good time. You're trying to see what projects I have going. And this is where you have to use wisdom, especially if you're accomplished, especially if you have a goal. And when people want to know what you're up to, proceed with caution. And especially if someone out of the blue that you haven't even talked to, they just slide in your DMs, they text you, and it's like, hey, what you been up to? Right? That's like their first question. Not like, hey, I hope you've been good. I have an opportunity for you to make some money. It's no, what you been up to. Right? Because I said this before, people think for some reason, because they have access to your social media, that they can DM you, and that because they can DM you that you're obligated to tell them everything that you got going. Right? But that is not the case. So why do people really ask what you're working on? Do people really care that much, or are there other motives behind that question? Because some people may be genuinely curious. They really may be genuinely curious, but many, when they ask that question, they're trying to see, oh, can I compete? Can I compete with what they got going? Or they're trying to get some kind of inside information. Because, I mean, of course, Jazzy wouldn't say she's working with Beyonce, because for one, if you're working with Beyonce, you're going to keep that under wraps. You don't tell that you're working on Beyonce, because that implies that something's coming out soon. And then, the industry is very small. So then word travels, and then words get twisted, and then people, they try to block you from the project. It's a very nasty game. So when people are asking, what are you working on? They're trying to see, is there a way I can benefit from this? Oh, you working with Beyonce? Oh, let me come through to the studio. They all of a sudden now they want to be in the studio with you, because if you write a song, they want to contribute 3 or 4 words so they can be attached to the song, because you may send that song to Beyonce. Right. So they're trying to see, like, oh, how can I insert myself into what she's doing? Because she obviously makes hits. And it's a competition. And then it's also trying to use your resources to get ahead. So you have to really be wise. And this is not just in the music industry. This is across all different industries. I don't care if you're a school teacher, it gets messy at school. You have to learn. Basically what people say is you have to learn how to move in silence. You really have to learn how to move silently, because especially if you're successful, people want to plug into your momentum, right? All of a sudden, you have motion. People want to know what you got going because they want to plug into your momentum. So what they'll do is they'll praise you, like, oh my God, you're amazing. They try to butter you up, tell you how amazing you are, how proud they are, in hopes that they can get proximity to that project that you're working on, or in hopes that they can get close enough to stop you from, getting the song placement, or they may be asking a question so they can go back to somebody they know and feed information to them. So you just never know, like, what angle they're playing from. That's why it's important how you respond. Don't tell them everything you're working on. Just give them a generic answer and be like, man, I saw Money Long, she posted in the comment to that video. She was like, just say you're working on everything. And then someone else had a comment. They said, just say, I'm working on everything, or something like that. And I was like, that's so true. Just keep it vague and generic, because a lot of times we feel like we have to show that we're doing something by telling our moves. Like, yeah, I got this placement. Next week I'm flying out here and I'm doing this. And we can get caught in that trap of, we don't want to seem like we're not doing anything. But your greatest weapon is to make it look like you're not doing anything and then pop out. This is what I like about Issa Rae, because Issa Rae, she'll go silent, and then when she pops out, she's popping out with a project, and you're like, when was she working on that? Or she's popping out with a magazine cover article or an interview. And I love that about her. She'll go silent and then she'll pop out. And that's what you have to do. You have to work in silence. And again, moving in silence also protects your peace. It protects your peace, because you can take your losses privately. Because when you tell somebody, oh, I'm about to do this, and then you blast it on social media, I'm about to do this, and then it doesn't come through, you have to take that L in front of everybody. And not saying you should care what people think, But it's a weird feeling when you're placing a unnecessary burden and expectation on yourself when you put it out, when you put stuff out prematurely, for one. And I've done that. I remember there were times where I'd be like, yeah, I got my new song coming out. And the song hadn't even didn't finish mixing. I hadn't even sent it to be distributed. And I was like, yeah, I have this new song coming out and I'm really hyping it up. And then next thing I know, something happens where I fall out with the engineer, or the mix doesn't come together, or I don't like how the final product is. And then, of course, I remember I had a hater. Oh, I thought you said your song was coming out. When is your song coming out? Trying to kind of like throw it in your face like you're a failure. But had I just shut my mouth and waited till the song was done and was being en route to be distributed to iTunes and everything, I could have took that L privately. And one thing about moving in silence is it gives you just more room to experiment, because you're not putting yourself in a box of other people's expectations, right? And you don't have to perform confidence while you're figuring things out, right? You can really, just be behind the scenes learning more and not putting extra pressure on yourself. So I totally agree with Jazzy. And the thing is too, like, people leak information. Like I said earlier, you don't know who this person knows. And I remember at work, like, it's just little things I noticed. Like at work, I had told at one of my jobs, I had told a coworker that I work another job. Like, I was working at the time. I had a side hustle at Dodger Stadium, and it was just delivering food to the what's that called, the dugout, and just taking requests and delivering the food. And I do that every now and then, right? I told that person that like a year prior, right? And so the next season, the Dodger season, we were in a meeting, and all of a sudden, I didn't even think he remembered, but all of a sudden he blasted like, "Oh, are you going to be working the Dodgers opening game?" And he said that in front of everybody, and everyone was like, "Oh, I didn't know you worked at Dodger Stadium." And so now everybody's looking at me wanting more information, and I'm just like, "What? Can you? Why would you even say like that?" Was just something so small. And so now everyone's trying to ask questions and, "Oh, what do you do?" and all this stuff. Not that it's a big deal, but it's the principle of it. And if he did that with that little thing of me working a side job, what else could I have told him? And then it made it to everybody at the job, right? So I should have, that was a lesson to me, even with like my private life, the little like side hustles I do, how I make money, how I make extra money, to keep that to myself, because it can be weaponized against you. You never know that my boss could have heard that I was working at Dodger Stadium and then try to get me fired. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just never know like how information can be weaponized against you. So you have to be careful of what you leak so that you can protect your boundaries, right? Because once the words are out, they can't come back. You can't, "Oh, let me get the words back." Oh, nope. Once the words are heard, once you move your lips, the information is out there. And that's another thing too. If you're a creative, and when I say a creative, you're someone, you maybe do music, you're in the arts, you're in theater, like, how to take divinely inspired ideas and bring them to life. You're in creative environments, and creative environments it's a breeding ground for competition, right? I mean, it can be inspiring, but it can also be competitive. And the music industry specifically is very competitive. So people, if they hear an idea from you, you don't know if they're going to take your idea and try to do it for themselves, right? If you tell, I remember, this is allegedly, and this is not to throw shade or anything like that, but I remember they were trying to say that Beyonce was working on Renaissance, and Renaissance was like kind of like house music kind of vibe. And then I guess Drake had submitted a song for her album, and Drake was privy to the type of music that Beyonce was dropping. And then Drake dropped a similar album before Beyonce released her album. So there was a lot of talk that Drake was trying to like low key compete with Beyonce. I don't know how true that is, but it's just the principle of that idea of how people are in the. It's crazy because the people that you don't think would even care about what you're doing, they're competing against you. And it's crazy. Like when I find out people are competing against me and like what they're trying to compete against, I'm like, really? Are you serious? Are you serious? And how you know this too, look at other people's examples, look at people's stories on TikTok of how they wish they moved in silence because they told their friend a certain thing. The next thing you know, they're copying the idea. They're with their boyfriend. They stole their man, right? So just because someone asks you a question, that doesn't mean you need to answer fully, right? That doesn't, you're not obligated to tell people what you're doing. So, and when I say to practice, moving in silence, I'm not saying cut everybody off. It's really understanding human nature and the psychology of people and how people move, right? If you're going to share plans, share it with people who have proven discretion, right? People that you know are not competing with you, people who are invested in your outcome, not access. Another way is when people ask you questions, do not give specific details, just give generalities. Remember when Money's long response was, oh, when they ask what you're working on, just say everything. And what you want to do is let your results speak when they're ready. It just comes across so powerful because this is the thing. I'm telling you, you want people to think you fell off because there's nothing they can attack. Let them get that satisfaction of, oh, she fell off, she ain't got no motion, she ain't doing nothing, and then you pop out with a movie. You pop out at a movie premiere of your, you know what I'm saying? That's the power that you want to move in, because privacy is a form of self-respect and silence is a strategy, right? Silence is a strategy. Silence doesn't mean fear. It means intention. Everything doesn't need an audience while it's forming. Let me say that again. Silence doesn't mean fear. It means intention. Everything doesn't need an audience while it's forming. Let people meet your work when it's ready, not when it's fragile. And as a creative, you have to protect yourself. You have to protect your ideas. You have to protect your energy. You have to protect your peace, because this is the world we live in. And I will not stop talking about this. I'm, by the way, my name is Shantae. I'm the creator of Creatives Unboxed, where I help creatives win where others quit. And my motivation for Creatives Unboxed is to give creatives the wisdom to succeed. Right. I've learned so much. I've been through so many things. When I tell you, like, I feel like my life was just one big test to prepare to help other people. Like, I'm like, why am I in this situation? Like, this situation is weird. This situation is weird. But I gained so much wisdom and understanding of human psychology and how people work. And I'm tired of seeing creatives destroyed and taken advantage of. And I want creatives to move in power and to move with intention and protect their talents and everything that they built and all the discipline that creatives have to get better at their craft. I want that protected. And you have to wrap that in wisdom, and you have to move through this world strategically. And that's why I'm here. And I just hope that something stood out from this. And until next time, holla.